So here we go. Lockdowns are the answer, are they? We're entering our third week. The cases increase. Am I missing something? If lockdowns work, why are the cases increasing? Or is Professor Woolhouse, a member of the Scientific Pandemic Influenza Group on Behaviour that advises the British government, is he right? Not Chant. This bloke's a fair dinkum expert. He describes lockdowns as, quote, a panic measure. And he said, I believe history will say that trying to control COVID-19 through lockdown was a monumental mistake on a global scale. I never want to see national lockdowns again. I suspect right now, he said, more people are being harmed by the collateral effects of lockdown than by COVID-19. Unquote. I've repeated many times the Nobel Prize winner Michael Levitt, a biophysicist, a professor of structural biology at Stanford University. I think he'd know more than Dr Chant or Berejiklian, describing lockdowns as a huge mistake. He argued, quote, the level of stupidity going on here is amazing, unquote. We need to remember Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of America, who argued, are you listening, Gladys? Quote, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety, unquote. It was months ago that Professor Sunetra Gupta, the Professor of Theoretical Epidemiology at Oxford University, urged Australia to, quote, abandon its selfish and self-congratulatory lockdown tactics. And check this graph. Sweden and the UK, the blue lines are the UK deaths during lockdown. That dip at the bottom there, that's summertime. The pink lines are Sweden. No masks, no lockdowns, fewer deaths. We're still not told whether, quote-unquote, cases are mild, whether they have comorbidities, how old they are. But Berejiklian's happy to chronicle one death, a 90-year-old woman. Did she die with it or from it? Nonetheless, the borders are closed, except Queensland, Victoria, South Australia, WA, but there are no cases outside Sydney. Yet look where we are now. Spare a thought for southwest Sydney. Where have we ever seen this stuff before? I said last week, and I'll say it again, Gladys Berejiklian has forfeited the right to lead and to be believed. There we have in southwest Sydney, Canterbury, Bankstown, Fairfield and Liverpool, people are shocked. 100 extra police, the dog squad, mounted police, even the police air wing, Pol Air. And what's the Premier say? I need everyone to be shocked. Can you believe this is Sydney or southwest Sydney? Horses' hooves pounding the pavement. And the people of Liverpool, Fairfield and Canterbury Bankstown are saying that when there was an outbreak at Bondi, we didn't see the dog squad, mounted police, highway patrol, Pol Air, the Police Transport Command. But Gladys Berejiklian says she wants you to be shocked. Well, we sure as hell are shocked, but not the same shock you are talking about, Gladys. This is shock born of abject disgust. And then a further attack on our school children. They can't go to school. There's no evidence that they are at risk. But again, Berejiklian says face-to-face learning will return, quote, only when it's safe for the broader community. Where is the evidence? By tomorrow, there'll be 440,000 masks delivered to schools, 9 million by the end of the week. No international evidence exists that children should be wearing masks. I'll look at that later in the program. But according to official figures from the New South Wales Mental Health Commission, 1 in 10 New South Wales residents was diagnosed with a new mental health issue last year. Official figures. What will they be like after this latest defiant bullying by government? But Berejiklian and her handful of lapdogs are defiant. Desperate people are always defiant. They would care little for the comments of the Mental Health Commissioner, Catherine Lurie, that many of the mental health issues may linger for years. I defy anyone conducting these daily scare conferences to come onto this program and take questions about all of this. They won't, because they can't provide the answers. The rules are vague and contradictory. Shop only for essentials, but non-essential retailers are permitted to open. It's all in the name of health, but provide free beers as an incentive to be vaccinated. I repeat what I said last week about the flu epidemic in 2019. 20,000 in South Australia alone tested positive to the virus in 2019. 20,000. Were the borders slammed shut? Were people frightened witless? Were police stomping the streets? On one day alone in South Australia, 37 deaths were announced in 2019. As I said last week, that flu in 2019 claimed 750 lives in 6 months. There were no daily press conferences, no breathless reporting. Most of you can't remember it happened. How many do we have today in New South Wales? in the alarmism that's taken over 112 cases out of 46,000 tests. Well, in 2019, New South Wales were averaging 826 infections a day. No instructions from anyone to search people's shopping bags or police making sure you didn't buy a non-essential item like shoes. No limit on how many could go to a wedding or a funeral or stand up and sit down in a pub, but of course you can't even go to a pub now. These people supposedly managing this so-called crisis are clueless know-alls with no understanding of history or the views of international experts. As Nick Cater from the Menzies Research Centre writes today, a survey of 1,000 Australians last week, this is amazing, by True North poll asked people to estimate how many of the thousands of COVID-19 cases in Australia this year had resulted in death. The average estimate was 225. 21% of those surveyed estimated that more than 500 deaths. Well done, politicians and health bureaucrats. Your fear campaign is winning. The correct answer was 0 if overseas cases are excluded. But now all we get is Delta, and how Delta is far more infectious, yet it is. But Delta, according to international authorities, is weaker than the previous strains. I'll look at that later in the program. I said long ago, what has been lost in all of this was the truth. And I'm saying to you now, the one thing you won't get in all of these conferences from politicians is truth. Let me give you some uncomfortable examples. I inflicted the ultimate pain upon myself by watching an absurd press conference, one of these that goes on every day, by Gladys Berejiklian on Friday. I hope you don't submit yourself to such punishment every day. The recurring theme was stay at home, uttered 1,000,000 times. Listen to this.
Stay at home.
Stay at home. Stay at home.
Do not leave your home. Do not leave your home. Do not leave your home. Do not leave your home. Do not leave your home. Do not leave your...
You see, that was uttered by all of them. You saw them all on stage, didn't you? Hazzard, the sign language interpreter, Chant, Worboys, and then a retinue of assembled media. There they are. Why weren't they staying at home? Huh? Then this was ostensibly a health briefing. This silly woman Chant, who rarely makes sense, reading, it seems, every third paragraph from a ream of paper, had something in her eye. Have a look at this.
If I could just get a tissue, and apologies for that. There are 14 people that are admitted to hospital at the moment with COVID. Thank you. Sorry. Apologies, everyone.
Excuse me. See what happened then? Hazzard, the Health Minister, pulls a tissue from his pocket. His hands are all over it, and he gives it to Chant. She's the health expert. She puts it all over her face and puts it in her eye, all of which we're being told not to do. I told you we're being run by fools who treat us as fools. Then, of course, the repeated mantra, you must be vaccinated from them all. Listen to this.
If you haven't had the AstraZeneca, make sure you get it.
See if you're eligible, and please go and have that discussion with your doctor about getting a vaccine.
But the same Premier telling us to be vaccinated also tells us we don't have enough doses. Listen to this.
What we need are the doses, and that is what we need. What we need now are doses. Any doses of any vaccine are welcome in New South Wales.
Oh, my God. Look, it's clear, and I'll come to this later in the program, that vaccinated people are still testing positive. So a journalist asked Chant, this Dr Chant, she's the expert, for God's sake, how many of these cases were vaccinated? Listen to the convenient answer, will you?
How many of the total cases
I
are
haven't
vaccinated?
got that information. We are just cross-checking the immunisation records of the cases.
She's the expert, for God's sake. Are they trying to tell us that people who have been vaccinated, and we're told that vaccination is the answer, that vaccinated people are being tested? Are people who have already had coronavirus and recovered, and there are over 6,000 of those in New South Wales, are they being tested and vaccinated at taxpayers' expense? Look, I'm sorry. We are being run by an ignorant rabble who don't do any homework. They listen to quote-unquote experts who appear to be anything but, and produce the rank contradictions that I've outlined to you above, and what is worse, they're defiant. But as I said, desperate people are always defiant. What do you think? Email me, alan@skynews.com.au, or the text line 0414 000 848.